Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Tuesday, September 1st. We've got your top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thank you for choosing to be here to get filled in on everything that's impacting you in Northeast Ohio. I know I say this all the time, but I cannot believe it is September. September is the month when fall starts, which means that summer is almost over, but it's not over yet, and for that, I am very thankful. All right, here are the things we're going to cover today. We will be talking about airline change fees, what's happening there, what you need to know, and how you might have to pay a little bit more in order to take advantage of this new change in the airline industry. Also, there was a fire overnight at Hot Dog Heaven in AMHERST, which is an institution for a lot of people here in Northeast Ohio. We'll tell you exactly what we know about that. We'll take a look at how Kent State University is handling COVID-19 cases. And also, we'll take a look at Centers for Disease Control statistics on COVID-19 that have been causing a lot of confusion for a lot of people. We'll break down exactly what those statistics mean. We'll let you know about some new jobs that are being offered from VERIZON that are permanently work from home. And we'll take a look at a heartwarming story that starts off with a very rude message for a couple in Massachusetts, but has a really great ending. And that'll be what we end things on today to end things on the right note. First up, we do have some exciting news about airline travel. Major airlines are dropping that ticket change fee, but there is a little bit of a catch. You may have to pay more to get it, at least in one circumstance. So Delta Airlines and American Airlines have decided to drop change fees. This is after United Airlines announced that they were doing that on Sunday. So Delta and American followed suit with their own announcement on Monday. And this, of course, plays into the fact that Southwest Airlines never had change fees, which has been a great convenience. So those are the 4 major airlines here in the U.S. So they will have similar policies in most cases, kind of. But here's kind of the nitty-gritty that you need to know. Delta and American did say that they will permanently be eliminating change fees for most domestic flights, but it's for premium and most economy fares, not necessarily the lowest fare, which is called basic economy. So to take a look at how this might play out, I took a look. I planned an imaginary trip, which I won't be taking, from Cleveland to Atlanta. And I was looking at the dates of Friday, October 2nd, and then flying back on Sunday, October 4th. On Monday, October 4th. So it would be a long weekend trip. So the cheapest flight for that round trip was $296. That's a basic economy ticket. Now, with basic economy, you don't get your seat assigned when you buy your ticket. You don't get to take a carry-on. And apparently, you might not get to be able to use that ticket for another trip without a change fee. But for the next level up, which is main cabin, that's $306. So you got to pay $10 more in this particular instance in order to take advantage of that new policy of no change fees for your ticket. And there are some other details about this too. So American Airlines also said it'll let passengers fly standby for earlier same-day flights without a charge beginning October 1st. United is making that same change on January 1st. This is all coming at a time when the airline industry has been particularly hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Just to let you know what business is looking like for those major airlines right now. Normally in the summer, there are about 2 million people that pass through security checkpoints at airports every single day. Well, since March, that number, not on a single day, has been over 900,000. So that's less than half of what we typically see on a day in the summer, and that's been happening since March for the airline industry. So definitely a move here where the airline industry is trying to get people excited about travel again. There are some airlines that are requiring masks on their flights, some airlines that are spacing out the seating. Not all airlines. Some airlines are requiring people to fill all the seats. So just pay attention to the policies of the particular airline that you're looking at flying. But in general, this is a positive thing for the consumer that change fees will be going away permanently on the 3 major airlines that didn't already have it. And of course, Southwest never had that. And Southwest also doesn't charge for checking bags, and these other airlines do. So keep that in mind when you're planning your travel if you have travel coming up on which airline you might be interested in flying. Now we're going to talk about some news we got overnight out of AMHERST. Hot Dog Heaven caught fire overnight. Now this is an AMHERST institution for a lot of Northeast Ohio families, even outside of AMHERST. Hot Dog Heaven opened in 1976. It's been a place for a lot of memories, for lots of families, a high school hangout for a lot of people. You all have been weighing in on how you feel about this. Jean Kingsbury says that it's a very sad day in Amherst, that she's been going there for 40 years. Kirsta Wilson says that her parents took her there as a kid. She took her kids, and her kids' kids went there as well as a family. So definitely a sad moment for them as well. And then Etta Heck says this is a big loss for a lot of people, offering prayers for the great people and the food, and just saying that she can't imagine it not being there. So she's praying that they can rebuild and start over. The cause of the fire isn't known right now, and we're not sure the extent of the damage. It's an updating story that we will continue to bring you the information as we have it on WKYC.com and the WKYC app. Someone who took video of the fire last night said that they believe that at least the third floor looked pretty badly damaged. So as we know more details about that, of course, we'll bring that to you. Now, as schools have been reopening at both the K through 12 and the college level, there have been cases of COVID-19, and that includes Kent State University. So to handle that, Kent State has been increasing restrictions after confirmation of these cases. So the school has confirmed 24 cases of COVID-19 since July 7th. 12 of those came in the week of August 24th. So in order to try and get this under control, campus events with more than 10 people will now be held virtually only. This restriction does not, however, affect in-person classes, but the restriction is in effect until further notice. And of course, we'll be following what happens on the campus at Kent State University very closely. Now let's talk about CDC statistics that came out over the weekend related to COVID-19. The important thing to know here is that COVID-19 deaths were categorized. People who died only of COVID-19 and people who died of multiple causes, including COVID-19. So there has been some conversation online that people are taking this to mean that only 6% of the reported COVID-19 deaths here in the U.S. are actually deaths from COVID-19, and that is not true. The bottom line here is that most deaths from the coronavirus had causes in addition to COVID, but not instead of it. So the report that came out over the weekend was that 6% of deaths that have been attributed to COVID-19 were people who died of COVID-19 alone, and 94% died of the coronavirus and contributing conditions, some of which may have been caused by the virus. Some of those contributing conditions may have been caused by the virus. And this caused a lot of confusion online, a lot of confusion in conversation with people. This is at a time when the U.S. has surpassed 6 million reported COVID-19 cases and 183,000 deaths, in a worse position than many other nations. So if you take that 6% number and you take that to mean that only 6% of these reported deaths were actually COVID-19 deaths, that's about 9,000. That is simply not true. That is what the experts are saying. What it really means is that in 6% of the deaths, COVID was the only illness or condition mentioned. In a July Department of Health webinar, the state chief medical examiner really broke down the difference between dying of COVID-19 and dying with COVID-19. Dr. Adele Lewis said, if COVID accelerated the death, that should be coded as a COVID death. For example, people who die in a car wreck and test positive for the coronavirus will not count as a COVID-19 death because the death was specifically related to the car accident, had nothing to do with the COVID-19. But because of these, based on these CDC statistics, 94% of the people who died of the virus in the U.S. had other conditions that contributed to their death in addition to COVID-19. Now, this is in line with what we've been seeing by our health professionals. Public health doctors have been sharing since we first learned of the pandemic being here in the U.S. that people with underlying health conditions are at a greater risk of complications and death due to COVID-19. So, for example, people with chronic breathing problems, people with diabetes and high blood pressure, and other health conditions. They've been living with these health conditions. Well, when these people contract COVID-19 can potentially exacerbate those issues and leading to death. So these people who otherwise had been living with their breathing problems, have been living with diabetes, have been living with the high blood pressure, would not have died but for contracting COVID-19. That is the difference between the 6% and the 94%. So hopefully that's very clear. And if you'd like to read that, of course, you can read that breakdown on WKYC.com. I know it can be difficult sometimes just to hear this information, but a great breakdown. And that explainer from Dr. Lewis about the difference of dying of COVID-19 and dying with COVID-19, I think helps clear things up quite a bit in this situation. Now, because of COVID-19, a lot of people have been working from home, and Verizon has just announced that they are hiring about 1,000 new people for permanent work from home positions. Verizon, at the start of the pandemic, transitioned over 90% of its employees to work from home positions, but these new 1,000 positions will be permanent work from home customer service positions. Verizon actually has been a little bit ahead of the work from home game. Verizon said in a statement that in 2018, the company introduced a program that enabled many customer service employees to work from home, changing the face of the industry. That's according to Verizon. So these new positions permanently work from home. If you are here in Ohio and you'd like to apply, we have the link to do that on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Now, let's end things on the right note. The story of an elderly couple with an aging home in Massachusetts. So this happened in Massachusetts. However, everyone is clicking on it today. It's doing very well on our website, so we're going to talk about it. And it's a heartwarming story. It's Jimmy and Madeline Kukuru. So it starts out with a very rude note that they received in their mailbox in July. They got a note from a neighbor. It said this: "Please paint me. Eyesore. Your neighbors. Thanks." And that was about their house, which had been aging. So they've lived in their house in Gloucester, Massachusetts for 50 years, and various health issues have stopped them from being able to do home improvements. Marilyn is 72. She developed multiple sclerosis 30 years ago, and she's mostly confined to bed. And Jimmy, 71, recently recovered from a quadruple bypass. So obviously, these people have some things that are preventing them from maybe getting outside and painting their own home. Jimmy said what bothered him the most about it was that the person who put the note in the mailbox didn't even have the guts to sign the name to it. Well, their daughter, Michelle Barron, heard about the note from her parents, and she posted it on Facebook. Right away, neighbors were offering to paint the house. The mayor of Gloucester, where they live, even stopped by to ask how she could help. Local retailers started offering discounts on renovation materials, and people created a fundraising website for them to be able to renovate their home. As of today, the site has raised more than $67,000, all because somebody sent a rude note to them and their daughter shared it on Facebook, and the magic of the internet sometimes can be pretty great. So now they've got almost $70,000 to renovate their home and turn it into something beautiful that they really enjoy seeing. And that person who wrote that nasty note, hopefully, apparently they won't have to look at it anymore. They won't have to be bothered by it. So the money is going to be used directly by the family to put new siding on their home, new windows, a new roof, and stairs, and they're very thankful and appreciative for the outpouring of support. So good things happening for that family in Massachusetts. You can see the family, you can see the home, you can see their plans on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. That's it for your early update here for Tuesday, September 1st. I'll be back here at 3 p.m. as soon as we get those latest numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health, and of course the rest of the headlines that are topping WKYC.com and our WKYC app. I will see you back here shortly. Everyone enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I'm Stephanie Haney.